Hey guys, it's Arshad. Welcome to another one of our Journey to CEO shows. This is a show about that journey from entrepreneur to CEO. It's supported by the upcoming book, Entrepreneur to CEO, which I know many of you have heard about. And we're also right now doing a series focused on redirection, redirecting your business. And all of these lessons are supported by the book Redirection, which was recently released. You can find on Amazon. Just put Redirection, McBride, Gaddy. That's the two authors, myself and Ann Gaddy, who will be joining us in just a moment. Go ahead and check that book out. This series of videos here on the Journey to CEO YouTube channel is all about thinking about redirecting our businesses because we are in that era right now. And today we're going to be focusing on redirecting to the positive. So let me bring Dr. Ann up with me. Hey, Dr. Ann, good to see you.
Good morning.
We've been doing a series on redirecting, and I think, we were talking about what was next in the series, and you said redirect to the positive. And I think that's such an important lesson right now because, we all need to redirect. Most of us have had our businesses and our lives disrupted in some way, shape, or form in a significant way in the last year. And we got to redirect, but we can take this as a negative, right? Like we can view it as we're being pushed and we're being forced and we're not able to go in a positive direction. Or we can say, hey, we want to have the right attitude to this and we want to think about the possibilities, because I think there's a lot of possibilities around redirection.
Well, I think if you position your business as a learning organization, so that as you're gathering information and you are beginning to make some implementations, you learn from them. Maybe there's something that didn't quite go the way you thought it should. But as long as you take any setbacks as a learning opportunity, then you can use that to redirect and move yourself in a direction, change the trajectory so that you're moving in a direction that is going to be more positive and prosperous for you. I like to say that at the end of each quarter, and we're coming to the end of our first quarter, that we do what the military would call an after action review. And that's where you look and say, what was the intent of what we were doing? What is in the first quarter, what were we trying to accomplish? Yep. What's the reality of what actually happened? What are the lessons learned? And then how do we modify or recalibrate so that we can move in a more appropriate direction, so we can either stay back on course if things went off course, or we can pivot, or we can do whatever we feel is necessary for our businesses to survive. But it's just like you're always on reconnaissance and you're always out there looking to see, as you talked about, Shawn, what are the opportunities?
Yeah, and you need to have, in this market anyway, you need almost a constant feedback loop. You talk about the after action review. Some of that should be done, some of that should be done yearly, some of it should be quarterly, some of it should be done monthly. And I mean, realistically, you want to be looking at those reports of, sales numbers, contacts, outbound incoming inquiries. I mean, whatever's those key performance indicators for your business.
Right.
You've got to be monitoring them at least weekly to see what's happening, because this is such a volatile market. We don't have kind of the type of momentum we had before. Right now, the momentum starts and it shifts and it moves, and then regulations change. So we, as business owners that are leading businesses, need to stop and say, let's take a look at where we are this week and what shifted in our marketplace this week, and what changes do we need, and then what opportunities does it present, right? Because if we're watching that data correctly and we're listening to the market, we may find opportunities. That's the positive side of this.
Well, and I believe that now, as we're coming out from under the rock of COVID, get back to networking. You probably have been networking doing virtual stuff anyway, but now is the time to be talking to your fellow business owners, your fellow professionals in the particular industry you're in, or what have you. Yeah. And, this is a good time for strategic partnering as you're redirecting. So that's another area. Not only do you want to be a learning organization so that everybody in the organization understands if you're making changes, why you're making those changes, through your communication efforts, but that you then are able to have everyone understand also why you're redirecting if you need to. But, everybody is making annual sort of expectations. It's hard at this time, during COVID, but they're making their annual plans. And that's why I say go quarterly. But you're right. When it was really, really volatile, Shawn, I had clients that literally we were meeting twice a week just to check and see cash flow, how things were moving.
Mhm.
And so here's the best opportunity, and here's if things are really going south, where we're going. So I
Yeah.
think that hopefully we're past that and can use the analytics on, like you say,
Mhm.
um, a weekly endeavor, or we can do it, definitely monthly and quarterly.
Yeah, so you're going to look at that data a lot, and and I think your point on networking is so critically important. And I think maybe we take a lot. I recommend a lot of businesses take a different tack to networking right now. So
Right.
before you were thinking about networking, like where's my next sale, where's my next strategic partnership, and these are things you should be looking for in networking. Obviously, that hasn't changed, but I think a big thing in networking right now, as we sit here in this current time period, is getting an understanding of just what is happening in the market, right? Just that soft intel of, hey, you're another business owner, you're running a different business, what do you need? What's missing? What opportunities are there? Because we talked before about matching our businesses, our core abilities to what the market needs. That soft intel of what the market needs is critical, and you can pick that up through networking, through a Zoom call, through hanging out with other business owners, whatever the case may be. You can start getting that information.
Yeah, it's a way to predict. We were talking a little bit earlier about inflation and the
Mhm.
fact that what do we do if inflation is going to, you know, hit? How
Right.
does that affect businesses? So, this is a chance where, I would suggest getting in with your industry uh, organizations. There are a lot of, manufacturing organizations,
Right.
for example, chambers of commerce. You really just need to start to see what the trends are, what the patterns are. So
Yeah.
I'm a business owner. I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for trends. And in that way, you start to see who can keep my funnel
Yep.
going, and doing that. That's where I like with strategic partners, because they can, if I am a financial planner and I have a friend who's a CPA, that CPA might be able to say, hey, I'm looking at your tax returns. Here's a guy who can help you with your financial planning or what have you. You can do some
Right.
things.
Yeah, and I want to talk. Inflation. Definitely, you and I were talking pre video,
Yeah.
and we'll bring that in here a little bit. But and let's talk about putting a positive light. High inflation is generally not a positive thing, right? So, but how do you make a positive out of it, right? How do you deal with it? If we get to a situation where inflation starts taking off, and there's people that are concerned that there's been so many stimulus packages, and the talk is there's a huge potential transportation bill and more behind it, right? This is going to continue, trillions and trillions of spending. Spending well in excess of the past historical standards for what the U.S. federal government spends. So just money pump down into the economy. Some of it for real production like roads and bridges, but some of it for, just here's a check, go spend it, right? So people are there's a group of people that are concerned. Runaway inflation, fast moving prices, prices moving so fast that you place an order and before the order arrives, the pricing of the products you bought have changed. We're not used to that.
No.
And so, that sounds like a negative thing, but the positive of it is if you have those conversations with your suppliers, if you plan for this issue, if you start thinking about how that would impact the credit markets and the spending, you can tighten your supply lines, and you could potentially turn it into an opportunity. You could turn it from negative to a chance to be one of the survivors and one of the stronger businesses through this year.
Right. So being agile and being able to change more quickly and pivot and make sure that you are able to modify on a dime's notice, really.
Exactly, and really getting the ball started. If you're sitting here, if you're a viewer saying, how do I get the ball started? I mean, obviously this is something Dr. Ann and I talk with our clients, and we welcome a conversation. If it's worthwhile, reach out to us. But, from a very high level, very broad level, start having conversations right now, with your suppliers about, what are we going to do? What about payment terms? Do you anticipate payment terms? What if we have a period of high inflation, your prices start going up? How's that going to look for me as a customer? Really start to address these issues before they become issues and start thinking about that. And you don't have to go crazy. I always tell people, when you do some of the strategic planning and you run some of these what if scenarios, you don't have to run them all the way to the ground. You don't have to figure out every detail of the what if scenario, but just having them on your radar as a management team is going to make you a much more effective business, right? Like if we start to see inflation, then this is the kind of plan this is the path we're going to go down. This is how we plan to address it, right? Just having that in your...
The fact that you even thought about it
Yeah.
becomes important, because what happens is a lot of people will just go middle of the road. And then when things go well, they haven't really thought about it. Or if things go south, they haven't really thought about it and said, what will we do? What will it look like? So by having your team plan on those different things, you won't be caught off guard. And I think the thing about suppliers and such is, and this happened with COVID, we saw it where manufacturers were not able to provide the products for, home goods, for stoves, for refrigerators, for hot tubs. I mean, they just were really backed up. So I think if you can look at options, and I know that's, people are saying, well, no, I only have these 3 suppliers, but really look at options. What, like you said, what if I can't get this? Or what if it suddenly the cost is prohibitive and my margin just won't take it? What are you going to do? Where else, what revenue stream are you going to lean into?
Right. And a lot of our clients and people that we anticipate viewing this show are kind of those family run businesses, partnership enterprises. They're not on a huge scale. And one lesson we could definitely learn from like the big box stores and the Fortune 500 is a lot of times what they'll do is they'll do analysis of their suppliers, right? They'll go out and say, okay, well, how robust are your operations? What protections do you have in place to make sure you don't get disrupted? And, how are you making sure you're going to survive? And, and where are you getting your materials from? Is that a secure supply line? So we can do a lot of that type of work. As businesses, we can go out and say, well, where are our supplies coming from? Are our suppliers dependable? Are we going to be able to survive, right? These are the types of exercises we should be doing regularly and looking through to make sure that we don't have holes that we don't know we have.
Yeah. And I think that not only is it the supply chain, but it's also your human talent that you're working with. And I think that, first of all, we're finding that productivity actually is on the rise for many people who are working remotely. Yep. And so I would look at your human capital and see if there are ways in which you are, even the benefits that you have, that you're making sure those are streamlined, and you check those suppliers for the benefits, and you also start to find ways in which people can work more efficiently together. Maybe they have, make sure you're talking to them. They have solutions to different challenges coming up. So I think that the ownership of the organization, including the employees' buy-in, is very, very important at this time to stay positive. Because if you have people that are Debbie Downers, as we would say, or are promoting conflict, creating conflict, that is going to dramatically change how your business operates. So you have to be careful to make sure they're positive as well. And that means listening to them and being honest with them.
Right.
Owners have to be able to say, hey, this is a tough time. This is where we are, not trying to gloss over and say, hey, look, we're, doing great if you're not. And if you're not, I mean, I think that being honest with your employees to help figure a way to get through this.
Yeah.
And I've seen that with some of my businesses where the owner just said, hey, look, you know, this is where we are. I need you guys to help me get through this. And she was very successful because they bought into it and they said, hey, we're all in this together.
Right.
And we're able to survive a challenging time.
Yeah, I mean, even that frontline employee that's sitting at the desk, they know whether the phone's ringing or not. Right? I mean, there's not a lot of mystery to it. The employees can find out. I mean, they know whether they're shipping a lot of product out the door or whether they're not the delivery department is not busy, right? They know these things, and so
they know what people are asking.
Yes,
they know on the other end of the phone what people are asking, and that's important to communicate and to listen to what they're finding.
Well, yeah, I mean that person at the front phone. I mean, if somebody keeps calling and asking for something you don't have, the negative side would be just to have them say, "Oh no, we don't have it. No, we don't have it. No, we don't have it." The positive side is, A, offer them something alternative, but B, to then say, "Let me make a note of that." And if you get 10 people calling in a week for a product that's similar to something you have, but not exactly what you have, then it might be time to run it up the flagpole and say, hey, here's an opportunity. And you want to be in a culture of opportunity, because what I've heard from other companies is, sometimes the employees don't feel like that they want to be heard, or it's scary to approach the boss, or they might get yelled at or whatever, right? So if that receptionist is getting 10, 20 people calling every week for a product that you don't have, you want to create a culture where they can say, hey, people really want this. Can we get this? Can we supply this to them? Rather than saying, oh, I'm going to hide this information because it'll make the boss angry.
But sometimes if, like, for example, you have a problem with that you cannot supply hot tubs. Let's just use hot tubs. And because I have a client who had this challenge where they would take the order, but it would be 3 to 6 months before they could deliver that and install that hot tub. So to keep the sale, there may be ways that you upsell and say, okay, if you're willing to buy this from us, we will include X, Y, or Z, or we will cut the installation cost, or that you start to put things together so that when you are finding that you're in a situation where your supply is way behind, you can start to find other incentives for people to then stay with you and buy the product and say, okay, yeah, if you're going to cut this cost for installation, yeah, I'll do that. Or if I buy it up front, you'll give me this discount. So there are different ways, or you'll say, I'll put a lighting system on for X amount of dollars free of charge, or whatever your business can entail. But you're providing value you're continuing to provide value for your customer. And as you say, it's just taking advantage of opportunities that come along.
Yeah,
creative.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody who was in the automotive industry, and they were telling me, that they tell them, in the car dealership, when somebody comes in, you don't let them leave, right? I mean, I think and we've all unfortunately been on the other side of that. The car dealer, you show up and, don't leave, because they know when you leave, you're probably not coming back. And I wonder how many businesses, because they haven't thought through the issue, have had customers call up and they say, no, we don't have that. No, it's not available. Customer hangs the phone up, probably never calls back again. But rather, say, hey, look, there's a shortage in the industry. We think that most other places you call are going to have a 3 to 6 month wait. If you want to get ready with us, we'll go ahead and put you on our wait list now. You'll start the 3 to 6 month clock started. And by the way, we'll throw in free installation for, as a thank you or whatever.
Right.
You've just now gone from, being in the same as every other supplier. I can't get one for 3 to 6 months. There's no way forward. We're just losing sales left and right, to I'm building a backlog that I'm going to be busy in 3 to 6 months when those hot tubs show up. Right. So again, it's an attitude flip. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges is between you and your professional advisors and your internal management team is to do that flip of saying, where's the opportunity here? Yeah, I mean, it's not normal business to have to wait 3 to 6 months for a hot tub.
Well, but you're also creating customer loyalty, and then they're going to talk about it to other people. And I think sometimes for me, what I've done with clients, and I can see this with inflation coming along, is that if I'm working, everybody needs an employee manual. And if I'm doing an update and say, hey, look, I'm already doing an update with this person. How about you guys join in and we'll do it as a joint thing. So the cost is lower for everybody, sort of as a group project. Those are the kinds of things that you want to make available. You just want to always say, how am I helping you? And that's the big thing. And you can decide, as you're saying, oh, we can't do this and just we failed at that or what have you, and you can get down in the dumps. Or you can say, hey, okay, we tried this, it didn't work, what did we learn from it, what can we do going forward? And that will help you stay more positive. And we need to be positive right now, because there's a lot of darkness out there.
Well, the learning definitely gives you an opportunity for a positive spin, right? Then you look at it every time you had a struggle, every time you had a failure, every time something didn't work out, you go back and say, well, what did we learn from it? What can we do better? That's your after action review. And that way you can say, I wanted this, I learned from it. And in that way you never lose. So you win, you learn, you never lose. Yeah, you keep that positive energy going forward, but then also the opportunity attitude of saying, well, where's the opportunity at? Like, you know, almost like the drug sniffing dog, you know, it's somewhere, right? You're just going to keep going and going and going until you find the drugs and you get the, you get the cookie from your handler, right? So you're like,
that's an analogy, really. But anyway, we don't want to be illegal. So
I'm saying the drug sniffing dog, he's working for that prize. He knows that eventually he's going to find something and he's going to get rewarded, right? He's doing a good thing. He's helping society, right? So that dog has been trained. You just keep looking and you're going to find it eventually. And and I think we can learn something from business owners of, we just keep looking. We keep looking. We're going to find it eventually.
Well, and being willing to stay agile, and also knowing that we're in an environment that is not stable, probably is not going to be stable. And therefore we have to be willing to adjust, and we have to be willing to modify as we're moving through. Change is just going to be the constant.
Yeah, change is going to be constant. And I think we can go ahead and just start embracing that now. And again, view change as a positive. Say, hey, look, from change comes opportunity. Most of the businesses we deal with are not massive enterprises, right? You don't have 50 locations and 10,000 employees, right? That's not the type of people you and I typically work with, and that's probably not the people watching the show. So that opportunity of when those other people that have 50 locations and 5,000 employees, when they have to change, it's a lot harder for them to change, right? Our smaller, nimble organizations with shorter communication lines, we have an opportunity here. Market share is going to open up because those big, massive organizations aren't going to be as responsive. Our customers are going to have needs. And if we keep us and our employees thinking about opportunity, we might be able to seize opportunity that never would come to us otherwise.
Right.
Yeah. So get the attitude adjusted, folks. And I know most of you watching this have that positive attitude, but this is about the culture. It's about communicating it, reminding yourself, and then communicating it forward to your team and getting everybody thinking that way. And I think that will make a huge difference in redirecting your business and make everybody part of the redirection. So I have to get the redirection in there, Anne, because we just released our book called Redirection. If you're viewing this on the Journey to CEO YouTube channel, on the thumbnail, on the opening of the video, you'll see the cover of our book. It's orange, and you can find it over at Amazon. It's called Redirection by Shawn McBride and Dr. Ann Gaddy. And I would go grab a copy of it, read through it, and we love your comments. There's a lot of different ways for you to interact with us in that book. Get on our mailing list.
I'd be interested too, Shawn, to see how the action steps that we have in there, how people are using those and finding them useful in the redirection process.
Yeah, we'd love your feedback on the action step questions. What you'll find is at the end of each section, there's chapters and there's parts. At the end of each part, you'll find action steps and questions. These will help sharpen your thinking. And yeah, feel free to reply back to us. There's contact information within the book. Feel free to reach out to us and let us know how that's going and what you learned and how your journey's going, because we use that feedback to help other viewers and listeners. If you have a question, if you have an issue, odds are somebody else has that similar issue too. So we be part of the community and help out. Dr. A, another great show, folks. We are live. We are typically on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. Best thing you could do is subscribe to the Journey to CEO YouTube channel. There you'll find out a library of past videos. There'll be more videos coming. And get on our mailing list. You can jump onto that over. I'll give you my, go to planningdoneright.com. And then also in the book, you'll get directly on the mailing list for updates on the Entrepreneur to CEO process. So go over there, check out that link, get on our email list. That way we'll keep in touch with you regularly. So folks, pat yourself on the back for doing the hard work. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you for another episode soon. Thanks, Dr. Ann.
Thank you. See you soon.